Kova, the two Russians doing a fantastic job, I have to say, to maintain the pressure on the sole Romanian. Galina Lazarova of Bulgaria with her floor exercise.
I think the last great Bulgarian gymnast that our viewers might remember was Boriana Stoyanova and Vodinit Shirova, both brilliant floor workers. Something that the Bulgarians are very good at, and that is the choreography of floor exercises. And all through the world we see examples of that, because a lot of the Bulgarian choreographers work for the Canadians, the British. Rather a long pause in the corner though. Double whip, double twisting back, but the dance certainly no problem, but the tumbles, yes, a positive weakness for Galina. Sorry, it's yes, it is Galina.
Well, Lazarova qualified in 16th position, which is a personal best for the 16-year-old.
But quite a surprising candidate for the Bulgarians to put forward into artistic gymnastics, because she's much, much taller than the majority of the field, and having such a strong gymnastic fraternity and such a good system, I'm surprised that they haven't managed to select some smaller gymnasts, because that's generally what they would look for success. But unfortunately, Lazarova isn't going to bring back the tradition of success that the Bulgarians enjoyed in the 60s and 70s.
Yelorussia, Jelena Piskin on the beam. Jelena also off to a good solid start in her first apparatus. Shouldn't have said that, should I?
No, that was my role in Brisbane. But Piskun did. She had a 9.8 for her first discipline.
And now it's a disaster for Jelena. Well, one of the more experienced performers here. 10th position in the all-around competition in Brisbane 3 weeks ago. After such a good start, to really losing all concentration and composure on apparatus number 2 of the 4 that have to be contested this evening.
But just look how positive she continues. 2 falls, we rarely see that at this level of competition. And I think that the crowd waiting anxiously for the score of Kochetkova. Full twisting back somersault, a really difficult skill, only about 3 gymnasts in the world performing it. And surprising, seeing seating free in the auditorium, but that won't be so on the individual apparatus finals. But Piskun can only get marked out of 9 because she's had 2 complete falls. And very, very disappointing for her. Because, but the saying goes, you're only ever as good as your last competition, and as soon as she can get that one out of the way, the better. But she was very lucky on that mount, you know. Quite twisted. stood up from the front, was way off balance and really didn't correct herself before the jump. Should have done well to forget about the combination. Then the full twisting Corbett, out of line also.
12th position for Lazarova. Asymmetric bars. 19-year-old from Sweden, Jessica Andreasson. 33rd in the European Championships 2 years ago in Nantes in France.
And that was a good exercise. Legs and feet weren't as tight as they could have been, but the difficulty was quite outstanding. And I mean, in relative terms for a Swedish gymnast, that was very, very good. It's nice to see the Swedes on board again, because in the 60s, the male gymnasts were really good, and the female gymnasts, I can remember Solveig Egman and a couple of the others being up there in the top 10 in Europe. But Jessica really did a good job on the A-bars there. Full twisting giant into the Ginger. Some nice high bar work. Form itself will prohibit her from getting much in excess of, well, in the high nines. But I think from her point of view, most definitely a personal best, and that matters a lot.
Well, we may not have sold every one of the 14,000 seats here, but the Swedish crowd certainly keeping their support as loud as they possibly can for Andreasson. Jelena Puiskin there goes into 11th position, 8.400, and she sees her competition come to an end, as did Lavinia Milicevic in the first round. Disaster. She's lying in 17th position with a score of 9.250 in the A-bars. Now, Lavinia, the bronze medalist in the all-around competition in Barcelona, really does need to draw on that wealth of experience to try and pull herself up the rankings. It's almost impossible to claim gold, but, well, anything can happen in artistic gymnastics.
And I just hope she manages to hold it together on beam, because she knows now, really, that there's nothing she can do. I mean, she now is reliant on somebody else making a mistake to get her into the medals. So if she does well on this exercise and sticks everything, that's good, positive work. Very difficult under the circumstances to turn in your best performance, when you know no matter how hard you work, you're probably not going to get in the top 3. Mind you, in saying that, another 80 gymnasts are in the same situation and don't stand a chance. The flick quarter turn, the Miller, a very difficult element, but the method of getting up was so unbelievably ordinary for a world-class gymnast. Double back tucked, but being critical, some of the content, the choreography and the build-up of the routine is very poor, very ordinary indeed.
Well, more for pride and posterity than for a challenge within the competition now for Lavinia Milicevic. So sad, she qualified easily the best performer of the 24 gymnasts now doing battle for the European title, and proving the form book from Brisbane 3 weeks ago, where she was the silver medalist behind Shannon Miller of the USA. Disaster has struck, and for me, well, a brave performance to come back after such a disastrous start, but not the best we've seen from Milicevic in years gone by.
No, performance-wise, it was excellent, because the actual content of the exercise she's not going to change under pressure or for any other reason. But an observation from a choreographic point of view, I think there are parts in it that are very, very ordinary and not in keeping with the European champion. So had she done a good bar exercise, I think she'd have been hard pushed to maintain her first place in comparison to some of the quality of the Russian gymnasts.
Well, Milicevic strapping her ankle quite heavily there, and let's hope that that doesn't dampen her enthusiasm anymore, because she really does need to dig in deep now to find the determination and the will to continue. She moves from 17th to 8th position, 9.800 her score. Well, she'll probably be kicking herself this evening for that mistake.